Good morning and warm greeting from Indonesia. My name is Mira and I would like to begin by expressing my sincere appreciation to Ms. Marcella and Ms. Bronwyn, our facilitator, for their invaluable support and guidance throughout the entire preparation process leading up to this virtual International Day of the Midwife. And at the same time, as Bronwyn mentioned before, I would like to wish everyone a meaningful International Day of the Midwife. In Indonesia, celebrate on May 5th, 2026, and long life midwives around the world who continue to stand at the front line of providing meaningful and life-saving care for mothers and newborn. And today, I am pleased to present our study entitled Bridging the Communication Gap in Neonatal Care, a Midwife-Led, right-based community approach from high burden district in Indonesia. This work is a collaborative effort with my supervisory team, Professor Dr. Dan Hilmanto, Dwi Agustian, Philosophy of Doctor, and midwife Karina. Through this study, we aim to explore and in many ways to tell the story from the field, how communication in neonatal care, particularly from preterm infants, doesn't end at the health facility. Instead, we found that communication continues into the home and the community, and therefore need to be understood as a connected system where midwives act as key drivers, and families and community play essential roles in sustaining care beyond discharge. To make the flow easier to follow, we organized the presentation today into four main parts: the background, method, result, and discussion. And I hope with this chapter, the audience can see how the problem was identified, how the data were collected, what we found, and how those findings were interpreted. Now, I will explain why neonatal communication is such an important issue, especially in the context of preterm infants in high burden settings. As we know, the preterm birth is one of the major contributors to neonatal morbidity and mortality, and the burden is much higher on low and middle income countries and other research-constrained settings. Yet, the impact is not only clinical. Sometimes for families, preterm birth also creates substantial psychological, social, and economic strain. And after discharge, families still need to continue care at home, while access to service, referral system, and home care information are often inadequate. And for that reason, neonatal care shouldn't be understood as something that happens only in the hospital, but as a continuum care from facility to home and community. In this context, communication becomes essential. It enables families to understand that infant's condition, recognize danger signs, and carry out safe home care. But in practice, communication sometimes often not tailored to the mother's condition, not delivered progressively, and not supported by sufficient demonstration, and sometimes not backed by adequate tools. And these challenges are intensive because mothers are often psychically and emotionally vulnerable, may have limited health literacy, face medical language barriers, and live within socio-cultural realities that shape understanding. On the provider side, midwives and other health workers also face limitation in time, resources, and sometimes limitation about system support. So the communication gap is not only about missing information, it is also about relationship, context, and system capacity. From our initial review, we saw that communication barriers occur at multiple levels at once: the individual level of the mother, the family and community level, and the health system level. Existing studies usually focus on clinical education or one-way communication within health facilities. There is still limited evidence on communication that is midwife-led, understood through right-based lens, and strengthened by the community, especially along the real pathway from facility to home. And therefore, this study was designed to explore how mother cadres and midwives navigate these communication challenges and to develop a multi-level communication framework to bridge the gap in neonatal care. Now, let's move to the methods, and I will explain how the study was designed, who the participants were, and how the data were collected and analyzed. The study used an exploratory qualitative design with reflective thematic analysis by Brown and Clark. We chose this design because the focus was not only on what we said, but on how communication was enacted, recited, repeated, reinforced, or hybrid within emotional, relational, and structural contexts. And we view communication as a multi-layered process that occurs across various platforms and interaction rather than as a single event. Conceptually, we use several frameworks as sensitizing concept, that is rigid structure imposed on the data. This include the integrated behavior model, health belief model, social cognitive model, social and behavior change communication, and the continuum of care. In other words, these frameworks help sharpen our interpretation of knowledge, beliefs, risk perception, self-efficacy, social support, communication practice, and continuity of care. And however, coding and theme development remain inductive, allowing the data to speak for themselves. This is the study setting which was conducted in Bandung Regency, West Java, Indonesia, within a neonatal care system characterized by a high burden of cases. We choose this setting because communication for preterm infant care doesn't stop at the healthy facility. It reaches the home and community and the referral pathways. From the field, we saw that midwives carry out home visits, communicated through WhatsApp maybe, use the maternal and child health book for small infants, and provide follow-up after hospital discharge. So this setting was highly relevant for examining communication as a cross-service and cross-setting process. Participants were selected purposefully and consisted of mother of preterm infants, midwife or mother and child health providers, and community health volunteers, or we call in Indonesia we call by health cadres. We view these three groups as complementary. Mother are primary caregivers and daily decision makers. Midwives are the main communicators and service connector, and the cadres are community-based companions who bridge message from the facility to the home. With this composition, we were able to capture communication experience more comprehensively at the interactional, family, and community levels. This is how data were collected through in-depth interviews, focus group discussion, direct observation, and document review. Our guides were designed to explore how information was delivered, how mother understood it, and how family and cadre roles emerge, how midwife capacity function, and what barriers exist in referral and service success. So the methods we used were not only about listening to stories, but also about observing real practice in the field. In the interviews and FGD, we explore service access barriers, referral pathways, how information was delivered and understood, and communication experience in preterm infant care. From these three things stood out very clearly the roles of family, midwife, and cadres, community-based support to simplify messaging and emotional reinforcement, and midwife stepwise strategy of education, demonstration, and follow-up. And on the mother side, we clearly saw confusion, fear, and making mistakes, and a strong need to hands-on example. Through direct observation, we show a real interaction such as breastfeeding leg correction, kangaroo mother care education, explanation of danger sign, and verification of maternal understanding. This was important because it showed that effective communication is not just about speaking, it is delivery in stage based on demonstration and reinforced through immediate feedback. So, what determines communication effectiveness is not only the message content, but the quality of the interaction. All interviews and FGD were conducted in Indonesian, and all the local language must comfortable for participants. All data were transcribed verbatim to preserve the original meaning. And ethically, we carry a formal requirement, obtain informed consent, and use anonymity to protect confidentiality. And this was especially important because the data involved sensitive experience such as maternal confusion, fear, economic constraint, and referral barriers in the field. As I mentioned before about thematic analysis, data analysis follow the 6 phases of Brown and Clark reflective thematic analysis. We conduct the process reflexively so that the emerging themes remain firmly grounded in the data while still being analytically sharp. And we use NV4 for the data management and iterative coding. And the analysis was conducted by me as a first researcher and periodically reviewed by my team, Kesa, Dwi Agustian, and Dadi Hilmanto. This is the overview of analysis. In the analysis stage, we follow 6 phases, start from familiarization with the data until writing up the report. And the slide show that the final result didn't emerge instantly, but through a careful and stepwise analytic process. In the first phase, all interview, FGD, observation, and document transcript were read repeatedly. We check the transcript against the audio recordings, clean the data, and examine linguistic pattern, participant non-expression, emotional context, and operational context. And from this, a very prominent pattern emerged: the use of home visit, face-to-face communication, leaflets, the small infant mother and child health book, demonstration, and follow-up. In the second phase, we apply inductive coding to the full dataset. Relevant excerpts were labeled in NV4 using NV4 marks and reflective notes. And this produced 23 initial codes such as communication pattern, delivery techniques, message content, provided capacity, etc. And interestingly, these codes recurred across the mother, midwife, and cadres dataset. In the third phase, we clustered the initial codes to identify broader semantic and conceptual patterns. Code related to communication channel, delivery techniques, and message continuity were grouped into a communication practice team. We chose this structure because it captured the dataset comprehensively while remaining concise enough for conference presentation and journal publication. And from here, the multi-level framework began to take shape. In the fourth phase, professional teams were checked against the full dataset to assess coherence and clarity, and overlapping codes were emerged, so the thematic structure became cleaner and sharper. And in the end, the 23 initial codes were refined into 9 final sub-themes, distributed across 4 main themes, which is communication pathways and practice, frontline communication capacity and enabling resources, family and community mediation of care, and service system and access constraint. In the fifth phase, each theme was given a clear operational definition, and the sub-themes were formulated concisely but informatively. The sixth phase was writing up the result and interpretation, and at this stage, we construct the findings narrative using anonymity, quotation, and interpreted the finding using the IBM, integrated behavior model, health belief model, social cognitive model, SBCC, and continuum of care framework. And so the final output was not a predictive model, but a multi-level conceptual framework for neonatal communication. And this is the communication multi-level communication framework. We brought all of this together in a conceptual framework titled Bridging the Communication Gap in Neonatal Care, a multi-level communication framework. And this framework helps explain that neonatal communication operates at several levels simultaneously, and its success depends on the connection among those levels. To ensure rigor, we use method triangulation and perspective triangulation by including mothers, midwives, and community health cadres. This strengthens the credibility of the findings because the data didn't come from a single viewpoint. And ethically, the study received approval from the research ethic of Universitas Pajajaran with the number 602, and all participants provide written informed consent before data collection. Okay, and now let's move to the result section. I will present the main findings that emerged from our reflective thematic analysis. As I mentioned before, that in summary, the 23 initial codes were refined into 9 sub-themes and then organized into 4 main themes. From this synthesis emerged the framework bridging the communication gap in neonatal care, a multi-level communication framework. Our most important finding is that communication is not a single event. It is a multi-level, continuous, and relational process. The first theme is communication pathways and practice. Our findings show that communication in preterm infant care is not a one-time counseling session, but a sequence that continues from the health facility to home and is then maintained through digital follow-up. Midwife explained that in preterm cases, a home visit must come first. Cadres emphasized the role of integrated health post and home visit, while mother felt more reassured when given a WhatsApp number so they could ask questions at any time. And at the same time, the most effective education was stepwise, delivered in simple language and reinforced through direct practice. And mother repeatedly said that just talking is not enough. They needed to see example and practice together. The second theme is frontline communication capacity and enabling resources. And here we show the communication quality depends heavily on the competence of midwives and cadres, as well as on the availability of supporting resources. Midwife described the importance of teaching breastfeeding transition and infant care directly. And cadres emphasize that training is essential so they can communicate more confidently and avoid giving incorrect guidance. And from the mother side, there were still experiences of explanation that were not detailed enough or not sufficiently demonstrated, which created confusion. In addition, leaflet Checklists, video, consultation time, and supportive work system were all important. And without this, good communication is difficult to sustain consistently. The sub-themes is family and community mediation of care. And the first part of these themes show that mother of preterm infant are often emotionally vulnerable. They feel confused, afraid, and making mistakes, and repeatedly ask questions because they worry about caring for the baby incorrectly. Midwife and cadres recognize that mothers are very sensitive, so explanation need to be given slowly, non-judgmentally, and with space for question. And this matter because in this context, good communication is not only informative but also respectful of the mother's emotional condition. Still, within this theme, family and community emerge as important mediators. Midwife explained that husband or other family members often need to be involved because care decisions are not always made by the mother alone. Family help strengthen understanding, provide support, and influence whether health message are accepted or not. And at the community level, cadres and midwives support home visit, integrated health posts, and coordination with the midwife when problem arise. So health message doesn't stop at the facility; they continue through the family and community network. The fourth theme is service system and access constraint. Our findings show that even when interpersonal communication is good, structural barriers still exist, such as referral delays, health assurance, or in Indonesia we call BPJS issues, limited hospital capacity, and family financial burden. Midwife said that referral process can take days. Even though decision often need to be made immediately. For family, the cost of formula milk maybe and transportation and fuel are very real burdens. And this is why service coordination become a critical. When cadres report a case to the midwife, follow-up such as home visit can happen quickly. This shows that communication success also depends heavily on a responsive system. Now let's move to the discussion, and here I will explain how the four themes connect with one another and what this finding mean for midwifery practice and neonatal service system. Overall, this communication gap is shaped by midwife, leadership, maternal vulnerability, family and community mediation, and system constraint. And therefore, the communication gap is not simply a matter of lacking information. In this context, communication is multi-level process, midwife-led, right-based, and community-supported. And bridging the gap then means transforming communication into part of the care system itself. First, midwives are the primary drivers of communication. Their communication is continuous, structured, and context sensitive. Our findings show that effective communication is not one-time education, but ongoing guidance from the facility to the home. The key mechanisms are stepwise explanation, demonstration, and follow-up. This process builds maternal self-efficacy through repetition, practice, and reinforcement. And for that reason, midwife-led communication becomes the bridge between clinical knowledge and home care practice. In high-burden settings, the most effective communication is not the longest, but the clearest and most practical. Information must be transferable to the home and usable in real action. So, what we emphasize is not merely knowledge transfer, but transfer that is truly operational for families. Communication quality also depends on system support. And skill, time, and tools are three decisive factors. And from our data, counseling competence, demonstration ability, use the simple language, and educational media were all important. But in the field, midwives and cadres still face limited time and limited resources. And this means that good communication should not only demand effort from individuals, the system must also provide the necessary condition. From a right-based perspective, okay. Okay, and yeah, from a right-based perspective, mothers have the right to clear information, understandable explanation, and meaningful interaction. If resources are not available, those rights are difficult to fulfill. That is why strengthening provider capacity becomes a prerequisite for truly midwife-led communication. Here, mother rights are not an addition, they are at the core of communication quality itself. Our findings also show that mothers are not passive recipients of message. They are emotionally vulnerable and therefore need gradual explanation, not judgmental language, and space to ask questions. And I think good communication must respect maternal dignity, support participation, and take emotional condition into account. In that way, communication becomes more human and more likely to be received. The roles of family, cadres, and the community are also crucial. Family members influence decision making, cadres reinforce the message, and the community maintains continuity. And after discharge, the message shouldn't stop. Through repetition, clarification, and practice at home, the community becomes the bridge that keeps communication alive after discharge. And this is why the communication approach is an important part of our framework. Our findings show that communication can fail when the system failed. Barriers such as referral delays, hospital capacity limits, and family financial burden do not only complicate access, they also disrupt communication follow-up, and therefore, this gap is not only interpersonal, but it is structural. At present, some follow-up still depends heavily on individual initiative and informal communication. Yet service coordination should be the safeguard from continuity of care. And for that reason, we see a need for stronger system integration, more structured feedback mechanism, and faster referral pathway so that the message built at the level of the mother and family are not broken along the way. And if we summarize, there are four interconnected levels: communication practice, which provide clarity and continuity; provided capacity, with constant competence and resource, with constant competence and resources; family and community, which mediate and reinforce the message; and the system, which ensure access and coordination. And the communication gap appears when one level fails. Conversely, the communication bridge is formed when all levels work together. Yeah, our main message is that communication in neonatal care must be midwife-led, right-based, and community supported. In other words, communication is not just information delivery, it is a care system that continues over time. And in high burden settings, bridging the gap means transforming communication into continuous relational care that truly help families care for preterm infants safely at home. Thank you very much for your attention and for the opportunity to present. I deeply appreciate your time, and I hope this finding contribute to strengthening midwifery practice, family communication, and neonatal services that are more right-based and continuity-oriented. That's the concludes of my presentation. And I would now like to return the session to our facilitator, Ms. Bronwyn. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mira. Before I share the screen, I just want to open up the floor for any of our guests who have questions. And I see, Bupe, you have a question. I'll let you go first.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mira, for a very beautiful presentation. So my question is with regards to the rationale for your study. Maybe I missed it. So what was the rationale for your study? Thank you.
Mira, were you able to catch that question? You're muted. Just 1 second, Bupe. We'll get that question to you. Unfortunately, Mira, I can't unmute you. Bupe's question was, what was the rationale for your study? If you're unable to unmute, could you type it into the chat box?
Mira, can you hear us? Well, yeah, I have also tried to unmute you, but yeah, I can't. Mira, I think as Brownie has said, you can try just typing your answer on the chat box because I don't know what's going on. Like even myself as a host,
Hello.
Yeah.
I
Hello.
can't.
Oh, yeah, we can hear you now.
Amazing, yes.
My voice.
Okay. So Bupe now has 2 questions. The first was, what was the rationale for your study? So let's answer that one first, and then we'll have the second one.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. I think Bupe asked me about the rationale of the study, and the rationale for the study comes from what we observe in the field, where preterm birth remains a major contributor, as what I explained before, and particularly in high burden as a resource constrained setting in Indonesia. Bandung is one of country with morbidity and mortality, especially about preterm infant, high burden. And however, we found is that the challenge is not clinical. It is also lies in how family, especially mothers, understand and continue the care at home after discharge. In practice, I think communication is often not optimal, still not optimal in my area. Our information is not always delivered progressively, as I mentioned before. Not always, sometimes not always tailored to the mother condition, and often not supported by approach that ensure real understanding and practical application. And at the same time, mothers are in a very vulnerable condition, psychically and emotionally. We also observe that communication barriers are not limited to the individual levels, and they are influenced by family dynamic, community context, and health system constraints such as access limitation, referral challenges, and etc., as I mentioned in my presentation before. Meanwhile, most existing studies tend to focus on one-way clinical education within a health facility. So therefore, the study was conducted to explore how communication in neonatal care actually occurs in a real-world setting, how mothers, midwife, and community health volunteers or cadres navigate the challenges and how communication can be bridged through a midwife-led right paths and community support approach. I think that's all, Bronwyn.
Okay. And then but the second question is in the chat, and she asks, what were the main challenges in sustaining this midwife-led community-based communication approach? And how were those addressed within a resource-constrained, high-burden district? Oh no, we lost you again. You're muted again. So you may have to put your answer in the chat if unless you're able to.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Thank you again for the question, Bupe. I think the main challenges include limited provider time, constrained resources, and uneven communication capacity, and system-level barriers such as referral delays and access issues. That's what I found in my study, especially in this study location. And additionally, mother's emotional vulnerability affected the continuity of communication. And to address this, the approach relied on stepwise, simple, and demonstration-based communication, strengthened by community health volunteers or health cadres, and sustained through home visit and maybe digital follow-up such as WhatsApp for simple tools. And in this way, communication was not depend on a single point of care, as I described before, but was continuously reinforced at the home and community level.
Excellent. And I think that I might ask the one final question and then we'll close off. Again, coming from a different cultural context in terms of my midwifery practice, can you just give me a little bit more clarification as to what community entails for your study participants? Say within in New Zealand, within sort of the cultural context that we have the concept of whānau, and whānau is not just your immediate family. That also includes a very large interconnected network of like, you know, people we call the aunties, you know, like the very close family friends. So what is community in Indonesia? What does that, where is that, what is that context? Oh, you're muted again. Oh, sorry, Mira. Mira, you're muted.
Okay.
Perfect. We got it. We got it.
Thank you for your sharing about how New Zealand is. In Indonesia context, what we refer to as community is a strong community-based system that includes trained community health volunteers, locally known as cadres. We have a health community we call health cadres, and community health platforms such as Posyandu.
Babam senle geleyim dedi mi akşam?
Are member of the community who receive basic training and act as a bridge between health service and family at home. And in our study, the community plays a key role in reinforcing communication through home visit, especially using a simple language, because Indonesia have so many languages, and health cadres is very important for deliver or bridge as a bridge between health services and family at home. After that, I think our community plays the other key roles for the community is providing emotional support and helping ensure that message from midwives are understood and applied in daily care of mother preterm. That's all, maybe, Brown, in Indonesia.